Platner's out. McConnell is in. He's still in the hospital. So Graham Platner released a short video on social media last night, officially suspending his race for the Senate in the state of Maine. Let's take a look.
We are suspending campaign operations. This is incredibly difficult because I know that some will think it's an admission of guilt, and it most certainly is not. We're not doing it because of the allegations. We're doing it because of the structures that are being taken away from us by those in power. And I also feel an immense amount of responsibility to everyone who has worked so hard to get us to where we are. We went toe-to-toe with one of the most entrenched political systems in the history of the world, and we won.
So look at overall, I think it's a good thing for the Democratic Party. I said in a video a couple days ago that we made about Platner is that was going to be a difficult thing to overcome in just a couple of months leading up to the final election day against Susan Collins. Their race was neck and neck already without that monstrous accusation of sexual assault. Essentially, I haven't seen anything about the woman pressing charges or anything like that, but I think that's the best way to describe it. So it was going to be extremely difficult if he had tried to stay in, and he suspended his candidacy, as you've seen. Now, let's check this article out from AP.org. Democrat Graham Platner says he plans to withdraw from Maine's Senate race after sexual assault claim. Graham Platner said Wednesday that he plans to withdraw from the U.S. Senate race in Maine after facing an allegation of sexual assault, shuttering an insurgent campaign that had withstood months of controversy, only to implode and imperil Democrats' attempt to regain power in Washington. Platner's exit could exacerbate divisions between the party's moderate and progressive factions as Democrats debate who should replace him on the ballot and struggle to unify ahead of this year's midterm elections. Maine is considered a key state for control of the narrowly divided Senate, and Democrats were desperate for a candidate capable of defeating Republican Senator Susan Collins while President Donald Trump is broadly unpopular. In an 11-minute video posted to social media, Platner said the process to replace him needs to be open, transparent, and democratic, although his input at this point is like, focus on you for a while, buddy. You know, I don't know. I don't think he's got the juice to say that they need to be open, transparent, and democratic. You just relax. And to reflect the will and values of people who supported him, he also lashed out at Democratic leaders in Washington, D.C. Quote, "People in D.C. need to stay in D.C., Platner said. Decisions should not be made by people in places of political power." That was his voice. That's what that was. At times scratching his beard and looking off camera as he spoke, Platner seemed to become emotional as he announced his plans, seated on what appeared to be a wooden deck as the noise of nearby traffic whizzed by. He also stressed that his decision was not an admission of guilt. He was not admitting to guilt. I'll tell you though, in his video, he seemed like very charismatic and sort of fun and free before. He sort of had the eyes of a steely-eyed sociopath in his suspension video. I mean, it was easy to imagine him not being a good guy, I would say. Okay. So anyway, that about wraps it up from Graham Platner. I don't think we will see or hear much from him at all in the future. Now, let's give you an update about Weekend at Mitchie's. Mitch McConnell, who has been in the hospital for about 3.5 weeks after 911 was called because he was passed out at his house. And he got taken to the hospital. This is a janky ass editing cut. He got taken to the hospital there for 3.5 weeks. Then he calls up Scott Jennings. Play the clip, Teddy.
Up the phone and called me, and that was a good thing.
You spoke with Mitch McConnell today. What did you talk about? What did he say?
We talked for about 17 minutes. He talked a lot about the situation with Iran, talked a little bit about Ukraine and what's going on in Europe.
Did you come away feeling like he's still capable of serving the people of Kentucky as senator?
I came away feeling that he was staying on top of the news. Again, look, his condition and why he's in the hospital or when he might come out, or look, that's.
Do you know why, and are just saying it's not at liberty to share?
I do not know why. All the rumors.
So we are to believe that Mitch McConnell called up Scott Jennings and dove into a conversation about Iran, huh? Let's just take a look at how well McConnell's been communicating.
This week has been good bipartisan cooperation and a string of
I stopped that. Okay? That keeps going. So anyway, this guy calls up Scott Jennings and breaks down the current geopolitical discussion with Iran. I don't think so. I don't really know, chicker. Anyway, let's see what BBC.com has to say about it. So the guy's been in the hospital for about 3.5 weeks after 911 was called. It says, concerns are growing about the health of U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell, a top Republican lawmaker who has been in hospital for over 3 weeks. On Wednesday, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, a Democrat, sent a letter to McConnell's office urging the senator to be transparent and provide an update on his health amid growing concerns about his ability to hold office. Several U.S. media outlets have reported that 911 emergency calls were made from McConnell's home seeking help for an unconscious person who was suffering from cardiac arrest. The calls also indicated that CPR was being performed on the patient. The internet has been swirling with rumors about McConnell's well-being given the lack of information offered from his office or family. On Tuesday, several Republicans said they had spoken by phone to McConnell, the longest-serving Senate party leader in U.S. history. Their comments came after a Trump ally, influencer Laura Loomer, claimed on X the Kentucky senator was in a vegetative state. The far-right activist also said that McConnell is brain dead and hooked up to machines, and alleged a cover-up. Loomer also criticized his wife, former Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao, for visiting China during McConnell's hospital stay. The Chinese government has confirmed Chao met with Chinese Vice President Han Zhang in Beijing on June 17th, 3 days after McConnell was admitted to the hospital. So 3 days after he goes into the hospital, his wife flies to China and meets with their vice president. She has no governmental position. That is a real, why? Weird, I think. I don't know what is going on with that. Why? Okay. A spokesperson for Chao told the BBC on Tuesday evening that McConnell's health did not warrant an immediate return, though she has since returned to the U.S. The secretary was on a long-planned trip in China to support her family's philanthropic endeavors, the spokesperson said in a statement. During the trip, she met with a number of people, including the U.S. ambassador. If she met with the U.S. ambassador, that person needs to come say what's going on. Well, why were you meeting her? What was going on there? A spokesman for Senate leader John Thune said the two had held a lengthy and substantive conversation that covered a variety of topics, including national security. Hey, don't we all feel so good that Mitch McConnell is watching out for our national security from his hospital bed with John Thune? John Thune looks like a stud. I'll tell you that. He's a massive guy, and he's quite handsome, I'd say, also for an older gentleman. Just a brick wall. McConnell has faced several health scares in recent years, and In the event of an early vacancy, Kentucky law requires that a special election be held to choose a temporary replacement. There's a lot of speculation as to the Republican Party trying to act like he's going to be okay, or he's having important conversations about national security and about Iran. I believe it. I do. I don't know. How do you guys feel? Let me know. Talk to you later. Like and subscribe.